Can you hear me? How about now? How about now? Oh, you can hear me. Are you muted?
Is it on? I can't hear a thing.
I can't hear you now. Okay, maybe we should dial in again.
No, I can't hear it. Hello? It is it? Oh, right.
Voice Acting Unplugged.
Hello and welcome to Voice Acting Unplugged, the podcast that explores the art and, very importantly, the business of voice acting. And I'm joined here by my amazing co-host, Mr. Anthony Rudd.
Hello there. Hi. Yes, we're on the client side again today, people, so we're on our best behaviour. Live from the Isle of Wight, we have the amazing CEO of Music Radio Creative, Izabela Russell. Hi, Izabela, and welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
You're more than welcome, I tell you. It is, indeed. Tell us a little bit about Music Radio Creative. How did all that start? How did you first get into the audio industry?
So we've been in business for nearly 20 years, believe it or not. So
Wow.
it's been a while. The company has been initially set up by my husband, Mike Russell, and his background is in radio. So he's worked in radio with radio stations for many years prior to that. And he decided, okay, well, let's set up a business where I can sell my own voice. And, it was just sort of working away in the background. And I joined in 2011. So my background is initially in business and banking. And I joined in when I was actually just about to give birth to our first child back then.
Wow.
And I was just really bored. I'm one of those people that cannot relax. I can't just have a day off where I do nothing. I have to do something. So I was like, well, Mike, you have this amazing business. Can I just have a look? Can I just have a little... And this is how it started. I never returned to working in banking. I've taken on MRC as my main thing to do during the day. We started to grow the business, added further voice artists. We started to expand into different markets. So initially it was just radio, but then we expanded into DJs, businesses. Then podcasting came along in 2014. And we've been sort of growing ever since. So things obviously shifted a lot, and they are continually shifting. As you know, voiceover industry is under enormous change since more or less 2020. 2021 is kind of the time where things started to go very differently. We are here still today doing the same thing, delivering great sounding voiceovers to our clients all around the world.
So tell us a bit about how a typical day for you works.
So for me, I'm a little bit like Miss Rabbit in Peppa Pig. She does like a million jobs and she appears in every corner of the movie. This is kind of how I work. I do pretty much everything from a general organization that includes hiring the right people to do the right jobs, to overseeing our marketing, deciding on the strategy, taking on voice artists, liaising with our larger scale clients. So we have a division of kind of our individual clients, but we also work with larger corporations and businesses. So I like to oversee those contracts and anything in between, really. So quite a lot of different things.
As radio contracted, I guess... you had to expand what you were doing.
100%. I mean, I've been looking at how it actually contracted in the last few weeks. And it's interesting to see that back in 2015, you had approximately 35,000 searches a day for a word online radio. And today, that's less than 3,000.
Wow.
So that has, you are looking at approximately 90% of the market disappearing in the last decade. And I think a lot of other markets that voice artists have been heavily relying on are also changing. But that is the biggest shocker, I guess.
Podcasts, are they... increasing at roughly the same rate that radio stations have been contracting, I guess.
So not quite. So the market hasn't been taken just by the podcasting industry. Podcasting is continuing to grow, which is great. That's definitely one of the markets that's on the up. It's not at such a rapid growth as it was back during the pandemic. Pandemic was a massive accelerator for podcasting in general. But there are also other things that have kind of replaced that. So we have, a massive increase in consumption of short form content on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We have a rise of influencers who are there. So kind of we are seeing a shift on the kind of content we consume as just regular people, right? Like a decade ago, it would have been online radio because you could find something interesting that was really suitable to what you want. Now you are overwhelmed with choice. You have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the social media are pumping a lot of content at you. So you are consuming a lot more visual content. And obviously podcasting is where you go for your niche down information on topics you're really passionate about.
Sure. I'm guessing that budgets have changed quite a lot.
Massively.
Yeah.
Massively. I mean, in all fairness, as a business, because we've always worked with smaller radio, so even though we do work with larger radio stations, this is not what our setup has been made for. So we've always wanted to target the individual creators. So for us, that change hasn't been as dramatic as to many voice artists, right? Because you would have a lot of professional voice artists who heavily relied on contracts with larger radio stations that then, initially that it started to go down and down and down because you would have a group by another group and another group. And then you find that, 60% of radio stations in the whole country are owned actually by one company. And, that's changed dramatically. But for us, it wasn't as a dramatic shift because we have always worked with individual creators from day one. So we still continue to work with individual creators now, but they are just doing slightly different things, but they still need audio.
So with all the different voice actors that you've got on your books, is it you that selects the person for your jingle, or do your clients listen to the voices that you've got, or is there a different system altogether?
It's a mixture of various different things. So it just depends. It's not one answer really. Our majority of the work that comes in, our clients select the voice. So we've always worked in the way that we've always knew that the best will surface. So that was always what we assumed and we went with. And it just works, ever since we started. So clients will go to our website and they can browse the voice by language, by gender, and listen to the demo and decide whether they want to work with that voice or another, right? There are some projects where we would recommend voices. So, for example, we do like a full podcast branding. It's geared more at corporate podcasts. A lot of them are coming up now, where we would select the voice to match the branding, the overall brand. So we would look at the kind of energy they want to have, what kind of maybe branding music they've used, and try to select a voice that really appeals to the target demographic of the audience. And then there will be projects, again, with our larger clients, we would give recommendations simply because they would like that. So, they rely on our knowledge to give them the best possible voice for what they need.
I'm guessing that the work you're giving to voiceovers has changed as dramatically as the marketplace.
Yes and no, in a way. Yes and no. It hasn't been a shift overnight. And because we've always looked at emerging markets, we've always looked at the change, we kind of kept up with it. So for us, it was a gradual change rather than from day one to day two. And it was more of a case of looking, okay, what new markets can we expand into and adding those in rather than complete shift. That makes sense.
And so for voice actors who don't know much about imaging and how to get work there, would you recommend they had an imaging demo, or would you be happy with their commercial demo, or would you suggest something totally different?
Oh, no, 100%. There has to be a dedicated demo for it. And just to give you an idea of how I evaluate demos that come through to me, I will never assume that a voice that is really good at commercial work is equally good at imaging work. Two completely different niches. So I will want to hear both demos to judge whether that's the kind of like, all round good voice artist in all niches, or whether there is strength in this on that. One of my absolute pet peeves that I absolutely hate people doing is assuming that if you work on a radio as a radio host, you're great at radio imaging, and therefore you have the right to include your radio reel as part of your radio imaging reel. And it's like, no, just don't. Just don't do it. But yes, it's in a way, we live in the world where you have to show that you are really good at something, and therefore you can't assume that you can be really good at everything, and for somebody to assume that's the case. So the more the more niche down demo you have, I think the better chances you have of actually getting the work or whatever you are applying.
Does your company, does Mike do imaging demos, or how would they go about doing it?
Yeah, no, we absolutely do. We have voice artists who come to us and ask for imaging demos. We have a product. I will send you a link so you can link it in the show notes, where you can go in and select the reel by the length, and then we work with you to create best possible one. So we will literally look through. We can give you a script. So that's one thing. We can recommend scripts. We can also choose specific takes, ask you, we will listen and ask for you to deliver something in a different style and try to make as good of a demo as we would be proud to display to our customers, because that's ultimately the goal. You want people to buy your voice.
Absolutely. So AI is changing things. How
is.
much are you guys using it?
So before I answer that question, let me just say one thing that I said a while back ago, and it's a very, very brutal in a way to many voice artists. But even before the AI came in, right, I would get applications from voice artists who were ranging from really exceptional to really average, right? And the market has been so oversaturated, and you probably know, we went through the era of Upwork and Fiverr, right? And it's like all of a sudden everybody thought that they have a great sounding voice and therefore they can be a great voice artist, which was never the case. And when AI came along, it kind of gave a really harsh reality check to a lot of those people at that lower end, right? Because it was all of a sudden, oh no, it's like I can't get the job anymore. But actually, I'm finding that those voices who have always been here, they have been fine. AI has not changed much because they continue to deliver something unique and something exceptional, just as they have before. So when AI came along, it is one of those things that, in a way, it's scary because people are like, well, hold on, it's getting really good now, right? I mean, if we check what 11 Labs was throwing at us at the very beginning versus what it's throwing at us now, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, this is a problem. So when that initially happened, I did say, and my prediction was that there will probably be still space for approximately 10% of the voice artists out there. The rest will have to go. Like, that's a very harsh, very brutal reality. But I still think that that will be the case because AI is getting to a point where it's really good for a lot of things. It's never going to be good for everything, but that everything will still remain in place for those exceptional voices, people who have trained all of their life to do what they do, people who have voice acting training, as well as exceptional and unique voice, right? Mm-hmm. So the market is changing, it's shifting. As in how we use AI, we have... So we've done a few different things. First of all, we know that our clients are using AI, and therefore we've had a choice. We could choose to completely ignore it and say, well, okay, you go and use AI, or we could try and keep those clients with us, which is what our choice has been. So we have introduced AI voices to our options. We don't engage in cloning of the existing voices other than those of mine and Mike's. So those are the only two voices we've cloned, and we will not engage in any further cloning, as for us, there are just too many legal implications that we just don't want to go into. It's just not the space that we are interested in.
Sure. So which genre do you use them for the most?
So the AI voices come in really handy in a few different areas. So first of all, we have a lot of international clients, and they require voices in multiple languages. So where they can come into us and have the same voice deliver their brand message in 10 different languages, because those are the 10 different markets they serve, is excellent, because we can do that. So you see, if we chose not to engage in AI, and by the way, many voice artists have given us an absolute hell for engaging with AI. It was like, how dare you? You are going against,
Really?
Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. It's like, I had people who send me really angry emails and said, you've got to take me off your list of voices because you are daring to engage with AI. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, have you been born? Like, when have you been born? Like, do you honestly think that this is going? And those are the people, by the way, who will go the fastest. Those people who really try very strongly to pretend it's like, unethical. Well, there are some elements to it that I absolutely agree with, ethical side not being there. But like people who make that clear stance of like, I'm not there, like it's just not going to serve you well, right? Because you are shooting yourself in the foot where you could explore it as an opportunity and in fact grow with it, right? And I think that that's where my encouragement would sit with voice artists most, is like try to grow with AI rather than see it as a threat.
Do you find it's difficult when you're using AI and you've got lots of different names of people from different countries? How do you cope with that? Do you have to write things out phonetically and so on when you're using it?
It's a mix of things. Yes, there is a phonetical aspect, but also you can now record. So you can literally record it how you want it to be said. That works great. So you can just do audio generation, and that just solves it.
In all the different years of experience you've had doing this, can you recall a project that you found really difficult to cope with, and how did you cope with it?
Do you know, actually, there's one that I had to go through fairly recently. The most tricky projects are those that involve larger corporations because of the red tape and because of the various different requirements each organization has. And actually, a lot of the time, those requirements have very little to do with the creative side of the work, and just kind of everything around it could be tricky. So we've just completed the work with UNESCO. We provided the sound for the World Radio Day 2025. So if you go to UNESCO website, you will be able to download audios. It was a project in 6 different languages. And there was very strict approval as to what voices could be selected, because obviously there had to be a message of diversity. And also we had a very strict requirements. Again, even when you went to a language and you selected the voice, it's like localities of the language. It was very tricky to match all the different requirements, as I said from above, that have very little in a way to do with the creative side of it, but had to be done before we even started to recording and complete the work.
That clearly was a big project then.
Yeah.
It was.
DJ drops and things like that, they normally involve quite a lot of musical input. Do you guys produce that yourselves, or where do you source that from?
So there are 2 different elements to imaging work, right? You have the musical side and you have the more like standard imaging elements. We don't actually engage that much with the musical side, other than we do sung jingles. And that's when we work with musicians who would, work with different tempo beats and, whatever else is required. But that's it. So we don't actually venture into the world of music production much at all.
And what is it about the job that you enjoy most?
Just the diversity of it. I love the fact that on an average year, we will work with clients in over 150 different countries. So the diversity from one day to the next is just phenomenal. I could be working one day with a client in Sweden, the next in Kenya. And, it's just, such a different approach that's needed. That's what literally keeps me going, because I love that kind of new, the feeling of new, something different, and and my job gives me that every day.
And you clearly have lots of different languages within your roster. Do you speak other languages as well, and do you communicate with them in their language, or do they all speak English?
So most of them speak English. I'm originally from Poland, so my native language is Polish, but I wish I could speak like Spanish or Italian, but no, I've only learned English. But I think, who knows, maybe I will learn more. But most of the people we communicate with, it's either Google Translate, who's doing a great job at actually keeping us in check, or just people generally actually speak English, which is great.
Of all of the different voices that you've got on your roster, how many different languages have you got, and do they all speak English, or do you have to speak in, I know you're Polish, do you speak in Polish to your Polish ones? Are there any other languages that you need help with?
No, so at the moment I believe we have 15 different languages. Most people who work with us speak English, so we've never really had an issue in there. And yeah, it's relatively straightforward. It just works.
What then are you looking for in a voice actor's voice? What are there any special tones or anything?
So for us at the moment, because obviously we have an existing talent base. So when I listen to a demo, I'm looking for something I don't have. So it will have to be something unique, right? So I know this doesn't really give you a specific answer as to, you've got to have this or that, because for us, it's slightly different. I just can't afford to have a voice that sounds similar to somebody else. It just completely defeats the object. So I'm looking at unique elements to it. Definitely, there is an increase in demand for voices of color. So this is definitely something that I'm currently looking to add more to our roster. It's lovely to see that the diversity of our client base is increasing, and therefore demand for the diversity within the voices is increasing too. And I think that that's important too, because even people with like slight accents, there is a place for this in different projects, and this is actually where AI can't do this very well. So you have that niche within the niche almost, but actually that's where that uniqueness that's still so uniquely human is, and I think will remain for a while.
That was going to be my next question. There are so many accents within Great Britain.
Yes.
Are you looking for people with regional accents? Do you get work in regional accents?
Do you know? Sadly, not much. So because majority of, say, if you have a podcast, right, you unless it's a podcast that's targeting specifically demographic within a specific area, they want to have an appeal that is to a wider place. Sometimes people are like, well, because I am from, say, Highlands in Scotland, I want a voice that is like that too, because that's my branding. I want to go with that. But a vast majority will want a neutral English is what people ask for most of the time.
So that's presumably that's not changed all that much then. The rest of the industry, there's much more demand, I think, for regional accents than there were when I first started getting into voiceovers. In those days, it was almost entirely RP.
Yeah.
And then accents started to appear and get bigger and bigger. And to the point now where I think a lot of advertising now is regional accents.
So yes and no. So I guess it's trickier for me to answer that question, because if I look at our client base, over 50% actually is in the US. UK is only approximately 20% of our market. So okay. I have a slightly different look at this than, I guess, a company that would be serving, 80 or 90% UK clients. So this is purely from the international standpoint, because when you have, Americans wanting British voices, they want, they call it the Queen's English. We want a Queen's English.
Well, the King's
King
English
now. They
today.
still want the Queen's English. So, yes.
So what? This obviously the podcast is going out internationally. What advice can you give to anybody who wants to get into imaging? What should they do? How should they contact you? What should they have ready to send to you? What should they expect?
So when you say into imaging, do you mean producers or do you mean voice artists?
For voice acting.
So voice acting. Okay, so if you are looking to get into that industry, I would say it's a really tough space at the moment. Consider it twice. I mean, honestly, that's my honest opinion. Consider it twice and make sure you can offer something so unique that AI can't do this. Because if your voice is sounding very similar to what 11 Labs can generate, then the chances are, like, I know this sounds super harsh, but the chances are that's just, not going to be good enough. And actually, I think diversification is perhaps a key. So instead of looking at just being a voice artist, what are the other things you can do? Could you edit audio? Can you do it quite well? Could you edit video? Could you be working with influencers so that you could perhaps do a little bit more than just a voice? And I think that this is where the industry will have to shift from thinking that you can just sit in a booth and record audio to maybe doing a little bit more, because that's where you can offer something unique that other people can't at the moment offer.
Sure. Is there a particular voice that you're looking for at the moment? Is there anything that's missing on your roster you'd like to fill? We could advertise for you.
Well, diversity, obviously. Voices of colour.
Yeah, diversity. I would say definitely. I'm looking for unique voices. So if you think you have a unique voice that, actually genuinely stands out, just get in touch. Absolutely get in touch. The best way to do is just send us a message through contact@musicradiocreative.com and just send your demo. The one thing that I always ask for, so if you want to make it quicker, record a completely raw, unprocessed, short
Studio test
recording.
kind of thing.
Just to give us an indication of what your sound is like. Because again, I mean, I've got to be super harsh. Absolutely zero space for less than perfect, and it has to be the case. There just isn't a space for less than perfect. It's a tough industry to get into. It's a tough industry to stay in at the moment as well. So it's just, you have to be top of the game. And many people are. And I think that that's the key. There are still many people who are, and many people still remain relevant. So there is hope.
And not wanting to be prejudiced against producers, any advice you would give to producers?
So producers, I'm actually genuinely excited about this part of the industry in general, because I think the creative imaging producers, there's always a space for those. And, that job shifts. And again, it's no longer just audio. You've got to go audio and video. Genuinely, that's the way to go. If you look at the content consumption trends, the audio only is decreasing, whereas the video and audio is on the up. You have to do both. There is no way to remain and do just one. So now when I look for producers, I want people who are either already skilled in both or are training, say, in video. So people who are in that transition period, we are very welcome. We are very open to welcoming those for us. And I'm actually in the process of looking for a new imaging producer and for new audio and video producer. So you see, that's my in-demand thing. So if you've got this, I would love to hear from you.
There you go, Anthony.
Fabulous.
Just found you a
Yes,
job.
I shall be in touch.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, well, fantastic to talk to you, Izabela. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us. But our time is now up. I think we've covered where people can come to talk to you if they're audio and video producers, and if they're voices. musiccreativeradio.com.
Nope.
Music Radio Creative. Music Radio Creative.
I'll
Do you
get
know,
there eventually.
I
sorry.
need to really explain the name. So my husband chose the name.
Mike Russell.
Mike Russell chose the name back in 2004, where it was really important to include a lot of keywords in your domain name. But actually, I still see the name as very relevant. And in fact, we're just about to go through a slight transition where, in a way, our operations will be divided into three different aspects. Music, which is royalty-free music, and sound effects, which we sell, and we have been selling for many years now, but we are kind of creating a slightly larger division for this. Radio, because we serve radio and will continue to do so. Obviously, as we go along, there's still plenty of opportunity in radio. And creative, which actually encompasses all the creatives who are popping up on the scene, you know, TikTok influencers, YouTubers, creators of any form of content. So actually our name accidentally is relevant.
You got yourself ahead of the game.
There you go.
I tell you what, I've actually written it down wrong in my defence. That's why I keep saying it wrong. So,
Yeah.
musiccreativeradio.com.
No, music radio. Mike Russell,
musicradiocreative.com. Right, okay.
Music Radio
musicradiocreative.com. That's where you need to go. Ignore the other one. You won't get anywhere.
That's it.
But it'll
Super.
all
Thank
be in
you,
the
Isabella.
show notes. And so if you've
Absolutely.
enjoyed it, please
Yes.
read through the show notes. Read all about everybody there. You can check all of our websites, etc., and get in touch. And leave us some comments, please.
I'll
And
cut
it's-
all that out. It's all right. It'll be fine. It'll be good in the mix.
And it's been
Brilliant.
great talking to you, Isabella. Thank you. And
Thanks,
lovely
Isabella.
to see you in
Pleasure.
person.
I know,
Lovely.
I know. It's always
Just emails.
It's a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having
Okay.
me.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everybody. Bye
Bye.
now.